Midnight Drearies.
Once upon a time, in a small town tucked away in the mountains, there was a toy maker named Isaac. Isaac was well known in the town for his exquisite and lifelike dolls. They were so lifelike that they were often mistaken for real children, with their big, glassy eyes and soft, squishy bodies. Isaac was a kind man and had a passion for bringing joy to children's lives with his dolls. However, his dolls held a dark secret. One day, a wealthy family approached Isaac with a strange request. They had lost their teen daughter in a tragic accident and wanted to bring her back to life in the form of a doll. Isaac was hesitant at first, but the family offered him a large sum of money, and Isaac couldn't resist the temptation. He took the heart of the deceased daughter and placed it inside one of his rag dolls. Then, using the power of hope and sewing, he cast a spell to bring the doll to life. The doll blinked its eyes and sat up, looking around the room in confusion. It had the appearance of a little girl, with long red hair, and was wearing the deceased daughter's dress. The family was overjoyed and paid Isaac handsomely for his work. The doll was named Rosie, after the same as their little girl, and became a member of the family. In their minds, their daughter had never gone away. However, Isaac had no idea what he had unleashed upon the world. Rosie was different from the other dolls Isaac had created. She had a mind of her own, and a will to do harm. She hated lying children, and would often sneak out of her room at night and into the bedrooms of children who had told lies that day. Once there, she would sew their mouths shut with a needle and thread. The first child she targeted was a boy named Timmy. He had lied to his parents about doing his homework, and Rosie had been watching from the shadows. She snuck into his room that night and stuffed his mouth with cotton, then sewed it shut, leaving him unable to speak or scream for help. When his parents found him the next morning, they were horrified. They had no idea what could have caused such an injury, but they knew it was no accident. Another child, Juanito, had always been a fibber. No one ever believed his extravagant yarns, but Rosie was going to make sure that this boy never cried wolf again. As she was in the process of sewing his mouth shut late one night, Rosie wiped the blood from his mouth. She dangled her fingers above her mouth and let it drip on her fabric tongue. She could taste the supernatural element of the blood. And she liked it. As the days went on, more and more children in the town fell victim to Rosie's wrath. The parents were at a loss, and the police were baffled. They had no leads and no suspects. It wasn't until one night, when Isaac had a nightmare, that he realized what he had done. In his fever dream, he saw Rosie stalking through the town, her needle and thread at the ready. He saw the terror in the eyes of the children she targeted, and the sorrow in the hearts of their parents. He knew that he had created a monster, and that he was responsible for the deaths of so many innocent children. The next day, Isaac went to the wealthy family who had commissioned Rosie and begged them to let him take her back. He explained what she had been doing and the danger she posed. The family did not believe his mad story, but they agreed to keep her locked away in the attic at night. Isaac thought that he had put an end to the horror, but he was wrong. Rosie had tasted violence, and she wanted more. She discovered that the same supernatural forces that gave her life also imbued her with magical powers. She used them to escape from the attic and continued her reign of terror, seeking out lying children and sewing their mouths shut. Isaac knew that he had to stop her and returned to the wealthy family's mansion. Rosie was locked in the attic, right where the family said they would put her. She was sitting on a pile of blankets, surrounded by the torn and bloodied clothing of her victims. Isaac was filled with a mix of anger, sorrow, and regret as he gazed at Rosie. She had taken the innocent lives of so many children, and it was all his fault for bringing her to life in the first place. Rosie, Isaac said, his voice trembling with emotion. What have you done? Rosie turned to face him, her glassy eyes glittering in the dim light. I have done what I was created to do, she said in a small, innocent voice. I am here to punish the liars, the cheaters, the ones who do wrong. Isaac shook his head in disbelief. No, Rosie. You were not created to kill. You were created to bring joy to children. You were meant to be a source of happiness and comfort, not fear and pain. Rosie tilted her head, her expression unreadable. But Isaac, you brought me to life. You gave me a heart and cast a spell. You made me who I am. Isaac sighed, hanging his head, heavy with guilt. I know, Rosie. And I am so sorry. I should have never done what I did. I was foolish and greedy, and now innocent children have suffered because of me. Rosie looked down at her hands, her small fingers tracing the thread of her needle. I did what I had to do, she said softly. I punished those who did wrong. But now, I feel empty. Like something is missing. Isaac walked over to Rosie and knelt down beside her. He took her hand in his, and for the first time, he saw her not as a monster, but as a child. A child who had been brought into a world she didn't understand, and forced to do things she didn't want to do. Rosie, Isaac said, his voice gentle. You don't have to do this anymore. You don't have to hurt anyone. You can come with me, and we can fix this. Together. Rosie looked up at him, her eyes filling with tears. But how? Supernatural tears. How can we fix what I've done? She asked. How can we bring back the children I've hurt? Isaac took a deep breath, his mind racing with possibilities. We can start by undoing the magic that brought you to life. We can take the heart out of your chest, and I can cast another spell to turn you back into a doll. Rosie looked down at her chest, her hand resting over her heart. But if you take my heart away, what will happen to me? Isaac smiled sadly. You'll go back to being a doll, Rosie. But that doesn't mean you'll be alone. I'll take you with me, and I'll make sure you're loved and cared for. You'll be a reminder of what not to do, but also of the goodness that can come from our mistakes. Rosie considered his words for a moment, and then nodded slowly. Isaac, she said as she motioned for him to come closer. He bent down to hear her, then she stabbed him in the throat with her long sewing needle. No, she yelled. I'm never going back. You think you can give me life again, then take it away. Isaac fell to the floor, writhing in pain, blood gushing out of him. She pulled several more needles from her carrying pouch that was attached to her dress. Rosie then proceeded to stab Isaac in the eyes, blinding him. You play God, but you are no divinity. You are just a sad little man who dabbled in occult affairs beyond his comprehension. Isaac could no longer fight the pain and passed out. When he awoke, his mouth was filled with cotton and sewn shut. And Rosie was gone. She had fled the house and was never seen again. But she's out there somewhere. Waiting. Watching. Looking for bad little children who need to be punished.